Welcome to my next Stranger Things Season 1 episode review video. Before I get into that though, pretty important, if you're not caught up to the point where I am every once you're watching Stranger Things, or you're just entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, thus far I've seen everything that's been released of Stranger Things. I'm rewatching the show to let it resonate, and obviously looking forward to Season 5 of Stranger Things when that finally releases. I'm hearing November. Don't know for sure if that's going to be the case or not, but my guess is if it does come out in November, whenever it comes out, they'll have a pause for a few months, or a month at least, to go into next year, 2026, to keep people on Netflix, to keep their subscription active, so they can get as much money out of it as possible. So hopefully November, and I hope to have all these reviews done by November. So I'm cutting my content where I'm only covering a certain amount of shows until November-ish to try to get all these episode review videos done in time for the 5th season of Stranger Things. So with all that said, this will be Stranger Things Season 1, Episode 3, or Season 1, Chapter 3. The title of this episode is called Holly Jolly, and this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watching the episode. While Nancy loses her virginity to Steve, Barb awakens in a waterless, dark version of Steve's pool, every surface covered in fleshy black vines. The figure that took her there pursues her as she tries to climb out, calling Nancy's name, which Nancy believes she hears momentarily before being pulled back into the pool and going silent. Nancy leaves Steve asleep and goes home, where an anxious Karen confronts her. Nancy tries to play it off despite Harrison noticing her wearing Steve's sweatshirt. Jonathan awakens to find Joyce talking to Will in his room, but realizes she is talking to an assortment of lights, making Jonathan watch as she asks Will to flicker one for her, which it does. Jonathan insists it is the erratic electricity and begs her to get some sleep before leaving. Mike, Dustin, and Lucas discuss Operation Mirkwood, a plan to find Will and save him from the Demogorgon. Lucas has brought his father's army supplies from Vietnam, a wrist rocket slingshot, and Dustin has brought food. Okay. Dustin and Lucas argue over the validity of a nearby Eleven's powers, and Dustin tries to get her to make Mike's Millennium Falcon toy to float with no success. Before leaving for school, Mike tells Eleven to meet the boys by the set of nearby power lines at 3:15. Not understanding the concept of telling time, Eleven is given Mike's watch to help. At Hawkins High, Nancy notices people are staring at her in the hall, but Steve insists he did not tell anyone about the previous night. She also notices Barb is missing from class. Home alone, Eleven levitates the Falcon before wandering around Mike's house, ending up in front of the TV. As she flips through the channels, she comes across a Coca-Cola commercial and has a flashback to Brenner ordering her to crush a can with her mind, which she does to his approval. Joyce notices several strings of Christmas light from the place she works, the general store, and rigs her house up with them. Another thing she got on, that she's going to pay later, hoping Will communicate with her through those. Not a guarantee, but it's worth a shot. Hopper is granted permission to examine Hawkins National Laboratory, checking out the other end of the drainage pipe found in the woods. The security footage of the night Will disappeared shows nothing out of the ordinary, but Hopper remembers it rained that night, and there was no rain present on the footage. So Hopper's like, okay, these guys are convincing in the fact that they don't appear to be hiding anything, but I know what the weather looked like last night, and it was raining. And he concludes that he's being lied to. In the lower levels of the lab, Brenner watches as his men install a pulley system in front of the fixture. Eleven explores Nancy's room and stares at her mirror adorned with pictures of herself and Barb. Nancy asks Steve if he saw Barb leave, which he did not. She and Jonathan lock eyes briefly. As the boys collect rocks for the wrist rocket, Lucas teases Mike about his apparent crush on Eleven until they are interrupted by Troy and James. They taunt Will and make insulting assumptions about his sexuality and trip Mike when they leave, making him hit his chin on the rock. Developing the photos he took, Jonathan's photo of Nancy in her bra is noticed by a classmate in the photo lab, which is actually somebody that was at Steve's party. Hopper and Calvin Powell comb the library's archives for articles on Hawking's lab, find several about alleged human experimentation, Project MK Ultra, and Brenner's connection with a woman named Terry Ives, claiming Brenner took her daughter. Karen visits Joyce with her toddler Holly to check in on her. The Christmas lights flicker, and Holly follows them to Will's room. Just as the wall starts to contort again, Joyce pulls her out of the room and frantically asks Holly what happened. When she references having seen something, Karen and Holly leave, the former off but put by Joyce's behavior. Nancy calls Barb's mother and finds out that Barb is not home yet. Steve, Nicole, Tommy, and Carol confront Jonathan over the pictures. As Nancy arrives, Carol shows her the pictures before Steve tears them up and breaks Jonathan's camera. Nancy notices a picture of Barb on the ground and hastily grabs the torn up pieces before leaving. As Eleven waits by the power line, she notices a cat. She flashes back to Brenner, ordering her to kill a cat with her power. She refuses, and Brenner orders her locked up in a cell again. She kills the two guards carrying her before they can shut her in the collapses, and Brenner praises her for carrying her away. The boys arrive, and she rides double on Mike's bike. She notices Mike's chin and tells him that friends don't lie when he tries to pass it off. He explains Troy and James not wanting Eleven to think he is a loser, but she insists that she understands. Nancy searches around Steve's backyard for any clues to which may lead to Barb and is stalled by a shadowy figure that causes her to flee in terror. She confesses to Karen that she is worried about Barb and that she thinks she is in danger. The Christmas lights begin to blink, and that leads Joyce to a large string of them. When she asks if they are Will and he is present, the lights light up. Will confirms through the lights that he is alive but not safe. Realizing she cannot communicate with him beyond yes or no questions, she paints the alphabet on the wall and sets up the lights so Will can spell out words. Hopper and Paul debate the validity of the articles, and Hopper theorizes that Will may have seen something related to the lab that he should not have. He gets a call on his radio that causes the two to drive off quickly. 11 leads the boys to the buyer's house, explaining that Will is hiding in the area. Enraged, Lucas and Mike argue until Dustin notices several police cars speeding by. Will tells Joyce through the lights that he is right here before suddenly telling her to run as the lights start to blink. The wall distorts again and the Demogorgon bursts out of it, a giant humanoid creature with no face and gray skin. The boys and 11 follow the police to Sattler Quarry, where they watch in horror as Will's body, or at least what they think is Will's body, is pulled out of the water. Enraged that 11 claimed that he was alive, Mike shouts at her before biking off. Mike returns home in tears and hugs his mother, unable to say what is wrong. Fleeing the house, Joyce comes across a returning Jonathan, and she embraces him as the police sirens speed towards them. And that's what ends this episode of Stranger Things. So good episode. I'll score it an 8.3 out of 10. My spotlight characters of the episode, which there's a lot of them, I would go with Joyce, Mike, and 11, or L, as Mike calls 11, is my spotlight characters of the episode. So you've heard everything that I have to say. Now it's your turn. If you're a fan of Stranger Things and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please don't forget to Hulk smash the like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of Stranger Things. What would you rate the episode, and who would you choose as a character or characters of the episode? And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel. You're watching the video anyway. Help me get over 100,000 subscribers. Join the team, share your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.